Okay, committee will please come to order, and I invite you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll look for a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Moved by Senator D'Alessandro, seconded by Senator Gaida. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. We'll be in executive session. First bill I wanted to take up is House Bill 214. This is relative to the public school facility condition assessment and school building aid grants.
I would move ought to pass.
Senator D'Alessandro moves ought to pass. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Hennessy. Discussion. One of the things that about this, it seems though the process that's being used here, I question why it isn't, or why it shouldn't already be done within the local communities. I mean, most schools that I know of have a building and grounds committee that should be keeping track of the deterioration, the deficiencies in a building, and I know at least in my school that they come out at an annual meeting, that they need so much for the repair of this or that, or they put it into a capital reserve. So I don't, I'm inclined to vote against this because I think it can be done at the local level, and a report submitted to the Department of Education. Further discussion. Senator D'Alessandro.
Well, I think you make a good point. Obviously, if you're a city like Manchester and you got $1 billion worth of buildings, you ought to be checking them and making sure, and you do have a department within the both within the city and within the education aspect of the city, the schools, and I appeared before a committee, a facilities committee, and they were talking about buildings and so forth and so on. I'm not sure that everybody has that luxury, but they should. So your point's well taken. This, I think, helps out in terms of maybe creating a larger entity to work on it and to make sure that things happen, because we do give building aid, and if you're going to give building aid, we ought to be fully aware of the maintenance of the facilities, the condition of the facilities, both at the elementary and the secondary level. So I think it has merit, but how could one disagree with the fact that, as you say, at the local level, you're building these buildings, you ought to look after them. So
I guess I thought too that when somebody applies for building aid, they have to identify what it's going to be used for. And it's more like a dedicated fund. So again, it kind of feeds back into, why do we need to get the state involved in that when you've got the local communities having a department there that's supposed to watch out for that, and they've got the voters to make sure that things get done. Further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is ought to pass on House Bill 214. All those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Nay. And Senator Hennessy, were you?
I was an aye.
You and I. Okay, the vote is 4-3. The motion fails. I'll look for an alternate motion.
Move interim study.
Senator Reagan moves interim study, seconded by Senator Gaida. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor of interim study say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay.
No.
And the motion passes 4-3. And I'll be glad to take that one out. Okay, next we have House Bill 536, relative to death benefits for public works. Employees killed in the line of duty and relative to workers' compensation offsets for certain retirement system benefits. And
Second.
Senator Gaida moves interim study, seconded by Senator Reagan. Discussion? Senator Rosenwald?
Thank you. I thought that I'd heard that Senator Hennessy had an amendment on this bill.
I thought I heard you had an amendment.
Secrets, no secrets in this
No, there's no
business.
secrets. I didn't. No, I didn't have an amendment, but I had heard through this grapevine that you had one.
Well, I didn't bring it because I heard you had it. But it was an amendment to do something about ambulance rates?
I apologize. Yeah. I have an amendment for that, but I don't know that I'm gonna attach it to this bill, if you wanna get rid of this bill today.
Further discussion?
Well,
We get 22 more bills, I believe.
is there a better bill for
Well,
it?
it doesn't really matter. I mean, basically the problem is this has a number in it. It doesn't match up with what the speaker talked to me about this morning, so I just got it
Okay.
an hour ago.
Okay, I'm going to support the interim study. I'm not necessarily against the death benefits for public work employees, but the process that's laid out here and I think could be very much simplified and be less expensive by just taking out term life policies on your public works personnel. I mean, you can usually get those $100,000 for anywhere from $200 to $500, and if the person died, and that's actually probably even less than that. I mean, because really what you're talking about is accidental death and dismemberment. You know, I mean, these are the types that you get at a bank for $1 to $3 a month on something like that. And should the employee get killed in the line of duty, that $100,000 goes as a lump sum benefit, as opposed to being stretched out in some type of annuity. The beneficiary would always have the opportunity to take that money and put it into an annuity if they wish to stretch that out to a lifetime income. Any further discussion? There being none, a motion before us is interim study on House Bill 536. All those in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
And the motion carries 6-1. Would someone like to take that out? I'll take it. Going on to House Bill 1256, relative to positions within the Department of Military Affairs and Veterans Services. Senator Gaida moves on to pass. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Reagan. Open for amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would,
Senator Gaida, you're recognized.
as I'm recognized. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would ask the committee to review Amendment 2022-1651S. I don't know if you don't have it. What it does, as you may recall, the legislature several years back had made an authorization to fund the student loan repayment program for the ARMI establishment that's going on. That was authorized but never appropriated. We'll get that. I think someone's got copies here. You pass that down. I'm sorry. And so we attached the language in this amendment to Senate Bill 256 or 276 over in the House. It was ruled non-germane by the clerk just this week, or late last week, I guess. And so we are going to attach it to this bill. This would provide $1 million in funds. It's the very thing that we attached to your bill, Lou, but was ruled non-germane. Figure that out. It will give the 1 million of the 5 million, and the rest of it can be appropriated in the next budget. Again, this was a pledge that was made in testimony before our committee, Ways and Means. The Army folks and BFA, which will oversee this program, had stated that COVID had caused a reduced demand. But now that COVID is pretty much behind us, they are now going into the hiring mode and looking to use this $1 million for the next year so that they can then bring in these PhDs in biomedical sciences and so forth to staff the companies. There are now 6 for-profit companies and 2 nonprofits down at the Army facilities down in Manchester. So they're employing about 75 employees. Senator D'Alessandro's bill would require them to report to the President of the Senate, Speaker of the House, and so forth on their progress. This bill would give them the money to start the process of paying off 20% of those college loans each year for each employee that they hire for the Army project who applies to this program. So this is what was pledged by us, 4 years ago, I think, 4 or 5 years ago when we did the Army thing. And so I would ask for your support.
Senator Morse.
Yeah, so we stay out of trouble at the House. I spoke to the Speaker about this one too this morning. What happened over in the House was the Speaker said a House member should have taken that and drafted it and had a hearing. Because they didn't have a hearing, they're taking the bill back, eliminating the amendment because they don't have time for a hearing. And he asked if we could put it on something over here. So we're agreeing to do that, and everybody will be happy. And just so that I don't leave Senator Prentice up in the air, the Speaker came to me about an appropriation that was about half of this, so I think it probably has something to do with federal funds and general funds. So as soon as I fix it and make everybody happy, we'll put it on something. So.
Senator D'Alessandro.
I think what Senator Gaddis says is true. We were all in, Senator Morse, you were sponsor of the bill, John, you were in, so we were all sponsors of the bill. The idea of reaching out for these high-quality PhDs to work on the program was the incentive to help with the loan repayment. But there was also a restriction that they stayed 5 years with the program, and I think that's still in place, and it really should be taken care of. I visited the project and followed the project as best I could. And they are doing some remarkable things. They've just put together a new lab. They're working in conjunction with UNH in Manchester with that lab. So there is activity going on and jobs are being created. I was a little disappointed in this. I asked the people at Army to send a report to us, and it never came. And I probably sent out 7 or 8 different emails requesting a report just to tell me what was going on, because it's in Manchester, it's in my district, and it does affect the city. So that's why I proposed a piece of legislation that requires a report. We did a big thing for them by allowing for 10 years no BPT or BET. That's a big deal. And we haven't done that many times in the history of the state. But we realized that this industry was something quite out of the ordinary. very much out of the ordinary. He's a brilliant guy who has got some brilliant ideas. And regenerative manufacturing, when you think of it, creating artificial organs and letting them be placed in people's bodies is quite an amazing thing. And my brother was on dialysis for 3 or 4 years. He invented, the kidney the kidney machine and also the insulin machine. Both were kind of dramatic improvements. So I'm going to support the amendment, but I think they should be responsive to us. We should know what's going on, and it disappointed me that didn't happen. So I wanted to let everybody know that I've been on this thing. It isn't a question that I'll let it slide at all. And appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Further discussion on the amendment? Okay, the motion before us is
Do we move it? I'll move the amendment.
moved by Senator Gaida,
Second.
second by Senator D'Alessandro. This is Amendment 1651S. All those in favor of ought to pass on the amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Senator Gaida is moving ought to pass as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Hennessy. Discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. And Senator Gaida?
Please.
Okay, we'll go on to House Bill 1421.
Move ought to pass.
Second.
Senator Hennessy moves ought to pass. That's seconded by Senator Reagan. Open for amendment. Senator Morse?
I have an amendment, with the additional SRF money that's coming into water and clean water, into New Hampshire to get us through 22 and 23, we need to appropriate $7,760,000 in general funds as a match. I think the match is based at 10% on this money, which is much better than we usually do. So, in any case, that'll free up quite a bit of money for next year's SRF funding, so.
So Senator Morse is moving Amendment 1612.
Second.
And second by Senator Hennessy. Discussion on the amendment. There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. And Senator Rosenwald?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move Amendment 1609S. I'd like to speak to my amendment.
Senator Rosenwald moves Amendment 1609S. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Reagan. Discussion.
Thank you.
Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. So this bill is an important bill to protect children with their drinking water when they're at childcare or school. And one of the ways to meet those standards is to install water bottle filling stations. And this bill does that. But if you notice down in Roman 2A, down in line 25, there's a requirement that once the water bottle filling station is installed, it has to be tested for the presence of lead within 180 days. However, I think inadvertently, the bill has no timing for the requirement for installing the water bottle filling station in the first place. And so this amendment simply maintains consistency with the legislation and says within 180 days of the effective date, if you're going to install the water bottle filling station, you would do that.
Senator Hennessy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Rosenwald, I have a question. It was brought to my attention that on page 2, lines 35 and 36, there's a 180-day trigger in those lines as well, but not until after the school or licensed childcare facility has notified the parents.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering why you didn't match that language, or there seems to be just, I know that's not that inconsistent, but there could be a delay in timing for that.
Well, I think the first thing that has to happen is you have to install the water bottle filling station. And right now, the bill doesn't have any time limits for that, so my amendment only just does that. Then you have to test it. Then if there's a problem, you have to notify the parents. But I think it's just, otherwise, they could wait forever to even install the water bottle filling station. So I think it's just, to get this process even started. We've already required testing to have commenced in Senate Bill 452, I think it's Senator D'Alessandro's bill.
Could I, the way I read this is that you only needed to install water bottle filling stations if you tested for lead. Or you could do some other form of mediation, like connect to a public water system or something like that.
We have previously required schools and child care facilities to be testing their drinking water for lead. One way of mediating lead that's present in too high of an amount is to change the faucets. I mean, to put in like lead-free, I think they're called, I think it's the faucet, but it's part of the
Probably
faucet.
filters of some sort.
Something. But another way it could be done is by installing these water bottle filling stations. And that's what this bill addresses. They have a choice, I think.
Okay, so what happens now? So we have a requirement that they test for lead.
Mhm.
Well, independent of this bill, what happens now if somebody tests positive?
Well, it depends on how high the blood level test is, but at some point, the state is gonna get involved.
But are they not required to do any kind of mediation to it?
I think they will be.
Put your mic on, please.
I think we appropriate to the Department of Education $1.8 million to take care of any school that found lead in their pipes. We gave them, they're allowed to get money to take care of that. So it seems to me that's a function that's in place already. And to the best of my knowledge, they haven't spent much of
They've
that
spent
money.
like $70,000.
Like $70,000 of the 1.8 million. No, right, out of the water fund.
Thank you.
Well, the
We're
goodness,
very grateful.
the goodness of our hearts, and then we're gonna pay it back. So that's in place, I think, to address your concern. There is a method to take care of it if it's found. It'd be nice if they did that before. Just tested the water, found out that if there was a problem, and took care of it, and the money's there to do that. So that's in place as we speak.
It is, and Senate Bill 452
Right.
addresses the levels of
Right.
lead that beyond which action is gonna take place.
Okay, I guess I'm still not certain, and I hear the point that we've appropriated money for remediation. Obviously, if somebody tests above a level, the state is going to say you have to do something about it. So I'm trying to find out where this fits into it, because, I mean, if you have a childcare agency that has tested positive for lead, obviously the state is going to make them do something to either correct the situation, be it put in a filter, put in bottled water, connect to a public water system, or, you know, if they choose, go out and get water filling stations to go with this. So I'm not sure where this fits in beyond what we're already doing.
This amendment only talks about if you're going to provide access to the water bottle filling stations, that you have a time frame in which to do that.
Okay. Is there a requirement that somebody pick up a water bottle filling station?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
It's one way of remediating lead.
Senator Hennessy.
Thank you. I'm just gonna ask Senator Rosenwald another question. So again, looking at lines 35 through 37 on page 2, if we're requiring them to install the water bottle fill stations, if they choose that route, within 180 days, that would be part of their remediation plan. But that has to be done within 180 days of notification to the parents.
Or in
is-
consultation.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that this amendment should include that language?
I'm just saying there's a little, I would be confused when reading this. Do I have to come up with a remediation plan within 180 days of notifying the parents, which, by the way, notifying the parents had to have taken place within 5 days of the testing results? Or do I have to install what do we want them to do?
So right now, if they're going to install the water bottle filling station, they can wait as long as forever to do it. But once they installed it, they have 180 days to test it. But they could wait forever if they're going to install a water bottle filling station. There's just no timing for when they would have to do that.
But they would have to have a remediation plan that's approved by the department or in consultation with the department.
The lady back there that knows something about it. Can you help us out here?
It's more fun watching.
I just want to make sure we're not
No,
giving
get
one
it.
timeline.
Oh,
On
it's
the
this.
base? There you go.
Thank you. Hi, Heidi Tramarko, the Conservation Law Foundation. Sorry, I was shaking my head or moving my head, and the senator saw me. So I can answer the question.
Go ahead and if you
Well-
can bring clarification to this.
So currently, they are required to test their faucets for lead. With this option, if they install the drinking water filter, then after that's operating, they test it for lead. So they wouldn't have a remediation plan in place before that. And then if that test showed the presence of lead, then they would have 180 days. So this amendment just requires that first water bottle filter installation has to happen within 180 days. Does that answer the question?
Sorry, no, that wasn't my question.
I think, well, I think part of it is, are you basically saying that wherever water comes out of needs to be tested? If you're gonna use it for drinking water, whether it comes out of water bottling filling station or whether it comes out of a specific faucet?
So currently, the schools are required to test anywhere a student has access to drinking water. So that could be faucets, it's the cafeteria sinks, maybe the bathrooms if they think the students are filling their water bottles. So they're already testing. And currently they have to remediate if it's at 15 parts per billion lead or not. And there's funding to remediate at if they show 5 parts per billion lead or over. And so they're already testing.
If a school were to just put in a water bottle filling station now, would the statute already require them to test that?
Yes.
Okay,
So this option, this bill would allow them to, in lieu of doing that testing, install the filter. That's what this 1421, they could choose that option.
Okay, well, I think we're talking specifically about your amendment.
And the amendment just gives them a date that they have to, if they choose that route, installing the filling station, they have to do that within 180 days.
Okay,
And
so now we get to Senator Hennessy's, because on one, Senator Rosenwald's amendment says it's 180 days from the effective date of this, which is upon passage, I believe. The other one says within 180 days of notification to the parents. So you've got an offset there, and I guess the question that gets raised is, what happens if you, well, actually, I guess you've got the water thing already in, so I don't know, why aren't we using the same date?
well, one is a deadline to install the filter, and then the second deadline is after installation if it is tested for lead, a remediation time. So they're just different, they're deadlines for two different things.
Hennessy.
Senator Rosenwald, so the more Gary talks about it, so what happens if we test 45 days after effective date and lead's found, but they had 180 days from the effective date to have installed that?
If they've tested it 45 days after the installation of the water bottle filling station, they've already installed it, and then this amendment doesn't even apply.
No, I'm talking about 45 days after the effective date of this bill, they find lead and they go to remediate it. They're not gonna have 180 days, they're gonna have 180 minus 45. But also, I'm stuck on the implementation of a remediation plan. So they have to develop a plan on how they're gonna remediate, and that's after they've found lead. So some places may find lead later and not on the first test. They may find it on the second test or something, because that's why we're gonna require more than one test. So if the remediation plan, 2 years from now, they have to implement a remediation plan to find lead. But your amendment has already passed. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm looking at line 25 on page 1 of the bill, that they've already had to test their water bottle filling station within 180 days. And I think your question applies more to that requirement than the requirement to just, if you're going to install a water bottle filling station, you have to do it by 6 months after the effective date.
So, no, sorry, I'm obviously not being clear. So on the second page, when a school or a daycare place finds lead in their water, they have to do a few things. And they've not implemented their resolution yet. They've not even installed anything yet. They found lead in their faucets. They have 5 days to notify the parents, and then they have to come up with a remediation plan in consultation with the department within 180 days of notification to the parents.
Mm-hmm.
So if that happens a year from now, how could they have installed the water bottle filling stations 180 days after the effective date of this bill?
The way I read this bill, they might decide right away, we're going to install a water bottle filling station. regardless of the rest of this bill. That's a choice that they have.
They haven't found the lead yet.
No, but maybe before they even test for lead, or maybe they've already done 1 or 2 tests based on the already current requirement to test for lead. Let's say your school wants to put in a water bottle filling station because they want lead-free drinking water. Maybe they know there's lead in their area, or they've already done 1 test.
I get that, but
Okay.
yours, if they haven't found the lead yet, how are they going to install a filling station within 180 days of the effective date of this bill? If they haven't even found it yet. I think, and maybe I'm not getting this, but I think you want them to, when they find lead, that you want them to either remediate it or install a water bottle filling station within 180 days of finding lead.
I guess I don't think they should wait.
If they don't know it's there yet, they can't have installed a water bottle filling. So you want just everyone to install a water bottle filling station, whether they found lead or not?
No, but this bill is giving them that choice already
I think
in the beginning of the bill.
what we're getting caught up on is lines 35 through 37 chronologically come before lines 24 through 26 on page 1.
Listen to the- Yes, please.
So they could opt, so that they're currently testing for lead. So a lot of the schools have the results already. They have 23,000 results. So a school could opt to install the filler station without testing further, or they could opt for the testing and remediating, and that remediating could include a water bottle filling station as part of the remediation. So they could either choose to do it within 180 days of the passage of this, or they could test, and if they have lead, then they could do a filler station as part of their remediation plan. That's what some of the schools are doing. They've already done that.
What? Yeah, why would
it's
we
an-
have a requirement that they have to put these things in if they don't have a problem?
It's written as an or. They can either choose to install the filling station, or they can do the testing and remediation route. It just gives schools that option.
Yeah,
It might be less expensive for them, or maybe they'll make it.
I still think there's a time.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize, I must not be making sense today, but I can't vote for this amendment. I agree that there should be a timeline which people have to remediate the lead that they found, which we say on lines 35 through 7 of page 2. It needs to be done within 180 days of finding or notification of the parent. So it's within 185 days, you have to remediate it. But this amendment doesn't take into account when the lead's found. So if a year from now, on the 3rd test that a school has to do, they find lead in their drinking water that's 5 parts per million or more, the 180-day effective period has already passed for this amendment.
I just don't see it as a mandate to install a water bottle filling station. It's a choice.
No, there's a choice, but we're saying that if you are going to choose A, which is a water bottle filling station, you have to do that with this amendment, not the way the bill's written, within 180 days upon passage of this bill. If they find the lead a year from now, that 180 days has already passed. So we're not giving them that option anymore. They have to remediate it another way.
I guess the last thing I would say is that over 90% of schools have already done 1 lead test.
Yep.
So I think the schools know if they have a lead problem or not.
Senator Rosenwald, would you have any objection to changing the wording of your amendment to align itself with notification to the parents?
Probably not.
Okay, I think that would make it much clearer.
Okay,
I think we're all in favor of the same,
yeah,
same,
we
same
all
thing.
want.
It's just, we don't want to make it so
lead-free water.
complicated that people can't understand it.
Can we hold this then or not?
You can bring it in as a floor amendment,
Okay.
or we can make it into, we can vote
I'll
whether
work
we
with
want to make it
Senator
a committee
Hennessy
amendment.
on a
I'm
floor
sorry?
amendment, because you want to get this bill out today.
Yes,
We'll work on a floor amendment.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So Senator Rosenwald is withdrawing her amendment. So we're back to Senator Morse, which we have passed, so take a motion for ought to pass as amended. Moved by Senator D'Alessandro, seconded by Senator Rosenwald. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. And Senator D'Alessandro, thank you. Okay, House Bill 1475. It's relative to the enforcement authority of liquor enforcement officers. Senator Reagan moves ought to pass. Is there a second? Second by Senator D'Alessandro. Discussion. Had a few questions on this. Does anyone know what Title 13 is? Talks about this in the methodology that the Liquor Commission believes a bill were to become law, then there would be an increase in litigation for cases where a liquor investigator has either made an arrest for an offense outside of Title 13 or in cases where a liquor investigator assisted a law enforcement agency in an arrest for an offense outside Title 13. Okay, seeing no answer, Senator Gaida.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions as well, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The liquor inspectors go through the police academy?
Yes.
They're fully certified? Okay, that allays some of my concerns.
Further
I
discussion.
guess my next question
Okay.
is, this, the enforcement of laws outside of liquor is not in their normal course of duties.
Right, it's when they come upon it.
Right, and so my concern would be that, again, are they required to go through recurrent training with the, police academy as all other LEOs? I don't know the answer to that, because,
I just, thank you, wanted to say, we got a new fiscal note on this bill earlier today, an email that says it has no fiscal impact.
Great, got that.
And so it's different from the original fiscal note.
Grant?
what's it showing for a?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick answer to your question. I just looked up the RSA's, Grant Boston, New Hampshire Senate, and Title 13 covers alcoholic beverages. So this would say if offense is not covered under Title 13, which is the normal part of liquor enforcement, if they happen across a bank robbery and help the state trooper, the analysis says, well, there might be an extra cost to that.
I have a
Senator
concern.
Hennessy.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chair, thank you. My concern is, again, bank robberies, drug deals, and so forth are outside their normal scope of duties. And I'm reluctant because, having served in law enforcement, that when you are operating in a realm that's not in your normal course of duties, you put yourself at significant risk. And I would be much more comfortable authorizing these liquor enforcement people to assist local or state police should they happen upon the scene. But I'm kind of reluctant to have them go in single-handedly and start enforcing local laws or state laws outside of Title 13. Thank you.
Senator Hennessy.
No, sorry.
Further discussion. Senator Rosenwald?
Only that I see there's no fiscal impact with the revised fiscal note.
Okay, no, I saw your light on, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Um,
Mr. Chair, I would propose an amendment.
Senator Gaida?
Very simple, on line 5 of 1475 as amended by the House, I would strike "or independently of." They can assist, but they could not single-handedly go in enforcing laws that are outside the normal scope of their authority. That would be my motion.
Okay. Senator Rosenwald? Sir, is there,
Yes.
is there a second to Senator Gaida's motion? Second by Senator Rosenwald. Okay, so it would read that the liquor investigator shall have statewide jurisdiction with reference to enforcement of all laws in cooperation with the officers of any county or town. Any?
Thank you,
Senator
Mr.
Henderson?
Chair. So the way I read that, and again, I'm not a member of the Judiciary Committee, we are going from what they have currently to a more restrictive powers, whereas this bill gave them clearer powers that may have been more. And because as Senator Rosenwald points out, there is no fiscal impact of the way it's written now, and I'm not a member of the Judiciary Committee, I'm not comfortable making that change because I don't actually know what it does and we haven't heard testimony.
We have someone from LBA. I guess maybe if you could just explain the latest FN compared to the original one, which particularly talks about the increase in potential litigation.
I'll be honest, I'm kind of catching up to speed on this bill myself, but I can tell you that the last amendment that was adopted did strike the fiscal impact as Senator Rosenwald had mentioned.
The last impact of Senator Gaida's. Talking Senator Gaida's amendment?
I'm sorry, the previously adopted, so that struck the fiscal impact of this bill. So as it came to this committee, there was no FN associated with it.
Got it, okay. Let's see now that it was amended by the House. And the FN we have was as introduced. So we have the replacement for that. Senator D'Alessandro.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Senator Hennessy. If that sentence were put in, Senator Guy's sentence, it would make it even more restrictive, because then you couldn't do anything without a law enforcement county person, and this tries to get away from that.
Further discussion? Further discussion on Senator Guy's amendment. Senator Guida.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my amendment would not truncate any powers that they have with respect to Title 13. It would merely say that, in my opinion, for their safety, because they don't normally operate in the normal criminal realm of statutes, that if they're going to do something, they do it in cooperation with someone that is trained and deals with those types of offenses every day, including violent offenses.
Further discussion? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is Senator Guy's amendment to strike language, the word either on line 5 and or independently of. All those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
No.
And the motion fails. I think it was 3 to 4. So we're back to the original bill now. Motion by Senator D'Alessandro ought to pass, that's seconded by Senator Reagan. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it, motion carries. And who would like to take that out? Say 6-1. You've got Senator D'Alessandro. Okay, and House Bill 1614. Senator Reagan moves House Bill 1614 ought to pass. That's seconded by Senator Rosenwald. Discussion. Senator Gaida.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would have to presume that, for example, restrooms and such facilities where privacy is sort of expected, that any taping or any of this video would either be very severely restricted or prohibited. And I don't know the answer to that, but that's just the one concern I have about. I don't know if there's anyone who can help answer that.
I believe that probably would already be covered in other statutes. This one here seems to really focus on the retention of the video. And it does say in all common areas.
You know, I just noticed on line 6, it covers my concern, so I'll go
Okay.
with it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor of the motion of ought to pass, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Anyone interested in this one? Senator Hennessy. Okay, with that, we have completed our business for the day. I'll look for a motion to come out of executive session. Moved by Senator Gaida, seconded by Senator Morse. Did you have a statement, or that was?
Well, after we come out of executive.
Okay. All those in favor of exiting?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Senator Morse, you're recognized.
Yep, LBA's been tracking for me where we're spending between the House and the Senate and all the legislation that's in committees already. With these amendments, I believe we're close to 225 million. I have a meeting at 3:30 with DES about water, that I think they're gonna ask for a PFOA appropriation. I said from the beginning, I wouldn't support going over 250 million in the first year of spending, and we're gonna be pretty close with everything that's still in committees. That's without additional amendments, and I've accounted for the ambulance increase, so, based on what I heard this morning, so. In any case, we're fast approaching 250 million, so.
Okay. Any further business? Seeing none, we will be adjourned.